some more Dragon Ball topics to go over.
Should have worn my hoodie.
For real. For real. And I should have worn my shirt.
Although I probably would have taken it off because I was hot wearing my hoodie earlier. So, anyways.
So we've got another Dragon Ball game coming out to talk about, and it currently doesn't have a full title. It's under the code name Dragon Ball Project Z, and it's going to be an action RPG set during the kind of the first third of the Dragon Ball Z series. And at first I thought it was kind of maybe going to cover possibly the entire series, but that's
cool.
Too much to hope for, apparently. It's just going to go up from the beginning of DBZ to his fight with Frieza and going Super Saiyan and all that stuff. So that's
it's kind of just going to kick off when he's an adult, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. That's where it's going to start. Where him and Piccolo are still technically enemies.
Oh my gosh!
Which that's a good place to start. I mean,
remember when Piccolo was like the big bad guy. It's so crazy. That's one of the craziest things about the series. Like you just look back on like certain people and it's like
you never know what's going to happen. Well, I mean, look where Frieza is now at the end of Broly. Yeah. It's like we never know how which characters are going to go in which directions. Yeah. So, I am interested in this now. The art, or rather the graphic style,
looks like a lot of cell shading.
So I would put it between. It's not as good as but I like cell shading for Dragon Ball games. It's not as good as Fighters, because Fighters, like, the frames are paced to basically match hand drawn animation, which is why it looks so good.
Yeah, it's a little more 2D Fighters.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, but it's all 3D models.
Yeah.
It's specifically, it's like 3D cell shaded models that they're trying to make it look as anime as possible.
Yeah.
When a character rotates, it looks like they drew it rotating. Mm-hmm. Now this is closer to I guess the last Dragon Ball game before Fighters was Xenoverse 2. So it was cell shaded, but everything was very smooth. They didn't really try to make it too much like it was 2D animation that you're looking at. But it still has it looks good. Everything it looks well animated. The lighting effects look good so far. The only gameplay we saw was Goku walking around different places, like, of course, Kami House, near Capsule Corp, those sorts of settings. But we didn't really see any other gameplay in the trailer. We just saw kind of what are going to probably be cutscenes.
Yeah.
So,
what's an action RPG? Like,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because Kingdom Hearts is technically an action RPG. It's kind of like an action RPG is an action game with RPG elements to it. A lot of people consider Zelda as an action RPG.
It could just you could just be playing as Goku running around like fighting people.
Yeah.
Straight up. Awesome.
But you level up. That's where the RPG elements, like you get stronger.
When I first heard about this and I thought RPG, I was like, it doesn't really sound like my cup of tea. Yeah. But it sounds like it could work because you have a big roster of fighters that you have on your team. Take turns doing whatever, like an RPG is traditionally.
And believe it or not, like I think the original NES, or in this case Famicom, over in Japan, got a pretty decent Dragon Ball RPG that takes place during the same story arc. I think it's called Legend of the Super Saiyan, or Dragon Ball Legend of the Super Saiyan.
I mean, because that would work. You travel around like collecting the Dragon Balls.
And the random encounters are like Cybermen.
Yeah,
those are like the little peon enemies that you fight.
But that sounds more intriguing. If you're just straight up fighting people,
I do wonder if it's going to kind of start off a new series of games. Like, are they going to kind of do the whole? For the Game Boy Advance, there were 3 games called Legacy of Goku, Legacy of Goku 2, and then Boo's Fury. And that kind of did the same thing, where it was like the first game covered up to where you fought Frieza, then the second one covered up to where you fight Cell, third one covered to the end of the show.
If that's the case, they should have started from the very beginning.
Oh, with Dragon Ball? Yeah, Dragon Ball doesn't get enough love.
No, it doesn't.
It's
awesome.
It is good.
I remember when I was reading it and it changed to Z, and I was just kind of sad. Like, and it's not to say that like I didn't enjoy Z. I was just like, things used to be so different, so lighthearted and like fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it doesn't. It loses a little bit of that, but But yeah, I love Dragon Ball.
So this game will be released for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. It's being developed by CyberConnect 2. Now, the article that I'm getting this off of from Game Informer leaves out an interesting detail about CyberConnect 2. Does that name sound familiar at all to you as a developer?
No.
Okay. Maybe Matt was still doing the podcast on a regular basis then, but CyberConnect 2 is the developer who was working on the Final Fantasy VII remake before Square said, nope, we're going to scrap all the work that you've done in it so far and just develop it ourselves. Oh. Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
Not the best sign. But then again, it's a licensed product. I feel like with licensed product, you don't really have to do the whole hard work and heavy lifting of making an original, everyone, like, spoilers, everyone knows who's a Dragon Ball Z fan knows how this story goes with Goku fighting Frieza turning Super Saiyan. Like, everyone knows the story. It's just going to be neat to see it in a console action RPG, because that's kind of how Legacy of Goku, those games were on the Game Boy Advance, but they got drastically better as they improved. But again, they're on the Game Boy Advance, so like, think Super Nintendo style graphics, overhead, very similar to the 2D Zelda. Actually,
what games?
The Legacy of Goku games for Game Boy Advance. Dragon Ball games. Yeah,
that were like
those. They were actually developed by a Western company called Webfoot.
You can get them on the DS.
The original DS, as long as your DS plays Game Boy Advance games.
Oh, so they didn't make a port. I can't get it.
No.
I want to get this game.
Oh, this game?
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, it does sound like it's going to be cool. I mean, CyberConnect 2 has made some decent games. Like, I believe they worked on the Naruto games, which play just fine.
If you're into that.
Yeah, if you're into that show. But it's going to be interesting. I want to see more about it. I want to know what it's actually going to be titled.
Yeah, hopefully it's something cool.
Something very cool, but simple.